Brought to you by the Springfield Greene County Park Board, Roto-Rooter Plumbing and Drain Service, Blue Current, and Thompson Sales. Here are your hosts, Ethan and Sarah Foreheads.
Hey, good morning to you on Thursday. Here we are at Thursday, making our way through the week, and we'll talk about some news. What do you say?
Well, let's do it.
All right. Voting in a couple of small towns, voters, I should say, in a couple of small towns had their say in special elections this week. Willard voters picked a new mayor after the election back in April, you'll recall, ended in a deadlock, a tie, an exact tie. This time around, though, no tie. Troy Smith won with nearly 100 votes more than his opponent, former Mayor Sam Snyder. So that is settled. And then in Fair Grove, Kelly Petty was elected as an alderman in Ward 2, ousting incumbent there, Jeff Danderson. The revote happened because some ballots were incorrectly issued for the original vote back in April. So a couple of special elections are now completed. A little more now on the case of that woman. We've been following this, who was held in prison for 43 years. A judge now says incorrectly so. The judge recently ruled that Sandra Hemme had been wrongfully convicted and must be released from jail within 30 days. And the clock is ticking. Missouri's Attorney General, though, says not so fast. He's asking the Missouri Court of Appeals to review the judge's ruling to overturn the woman's conviction for a murder that happened back in 1980. There's some evidence that came out that pointed to a police officer actually committing that murder. He's now deceased. So this case continues. It looks like she may be held for a little while longer, and the state wants to gather the facts, I guess.
All right. Springfield's Planning and Zoning Commission will hear a proposal by the city today to buy a piece of property on North Boonville. That property would become home to the city's Workforce Development Department. It's an office building just south of Commercial Street with a price tag of $3.7 million, but would need $2.5 million worth of improvements. So we'll see about that. Also, Bass Pro Shops is planning to open its newest store in Texas this week. It'll be located in Grand Prairie outside of Dallas and employ about 130 people. Another Texas store is being built in Odessa and should be open next spring. Very good. The federal government is looking at new routes for Amtrak passenger train service. One option would go between New York City and Dallas and connect Springfield with Tulsa and with St. Louis along the way. The cost of the new rail line would be $5 billion. Wow. The federal study looked at several options for service, but ranked New York to Texas route as highly likely or highly traveled. Right now, they're just looking at potential options for Amtrak. Springfield has not had passenger train service since the late 1960s.
You know, that's a lot of money. For sure, but I think it would be cool to have that as a service. I don't know if enough people would ride it to make it worth it or not.
I don't know that it would be worth it through Springfield. I mean, obviously, New York City, Dallas, St. Louis, Tulsa are much bigger than Springfield. So
but it goes through here. It goes through here, regardless of whether you ride it or not. Yeah. So it would now is an option for people going to Tulsa,
which would be
St.
cool.
Louis.
Yes.
Yeah. Where am I? Yeah, a judge threw out a motion by Planned Parenthood to dismiss a lawsuit claiming the organization trafficked minors across state lines to have abortions. That lawsuit by the state of Missouri claims Planned Parenthood took minors into Kansas to get abortions without parental consent based on a video shot by conservative group Project Veritas. A lawyer for Planned Parenthood says there's no proof the clinic broke the law, rather just a recorded conversation about the potential of doing that. And it is the state of Missouri that filed that lawsuit against Planned Parenthood, so it continues now. The summer harvest campaign is underway for Ozarks Food Harvest, the local food bank trying to provide 45,000 meals for children in our area. The campaign includes several events for you to join the Ozarks Food Harvest in collecting money and or food over the next several weeks, because that campaign runs through the month of August. So find something you want to be part of and do it up. Help the Ozarks Food Harvest. And then there's this. Speaking of driving and trains, when it comes to road trips, apparently the drive from St. Louis to Branson is a popular one. I would not have guessed that, having driven Interstate 44 up there several times. A new study compiled by the top 130 road trips in the country, and the St. Louis to Branson drive ranked number 13 in the nation. Isn't it? Probably during the fall would be my guess. I think that's probably the attraction. There are some pretty hills, but it is a curvy interstate for sure. And then the drive from Springfield to the Mark Twain National Forest ranked number 23 on the list. So they like looking at trees. Kansas to Lake of the Ozarks came in at number 97 on the list.
I would think that St. Louis to Branson would be people going to either Table Rock during the summertime or potentially to Silver Dollar City during the wintertime or summer break when their kids are out of school. I don't know. I guess I am surprised that it's number 13 out of 130. But I think Silver Dollar City advertises in St. Louis. I know they advertise in Oklahoma, where I grew up.
Yeah.
So I like Branson. I like it a lot.
I grew up in St. Louis, and we took a couple of vacations when I was a kid to Branson, and we did it. We did it in the summer because I remember the pool. But I also remember hearing my parents and grandparents talk about driving down to see the leaves change. And whenever I drive up to St. Louis to visit family now in the fall, I always look at the leaves, and it's beautiful. It is a nice drive when you're considering that.
Yes.
But when you're in a hurry to get to a soccer game or back home after a soccer game, it's not the greatest.
Yes. All right. Saturday is the annual Taste of Somo Festival. It's from 11 to 3 at Park Central Square. Attendees can sample the different foods and then go vote on your favorite dish. So that is fun. You can find all the information at tasteofsomo.com. Tasteofsomo.com. All right, this weekend is also the 23rd Sertoma Duck Race Festival. Starts tomorrow at the Finley River Park in Ozark. It is so fun. There's a big duck race, a rubber ducky race, and it's a good time. People can make a donation to adopt a toy rubber duck that will be dropped into the river with 20,000 others, and then they float down. The first rubber duck to cross the finish line wins a new car.
That's not bad.
Price is right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow night features the hot air balloon glow, which is also always popular. That is at 8:45, the balloon glow.
Yeah, we used to live years ago. We lived in that area, and we went down to the park. That was a park that we would take our kids to when they were little anyway. But the balloon glow is cool, and the duck race. We emceed that one time several years ago.
One or two times, and it was great fun. I mean, I like it because it is just a game of chance. I mean, there's 23 rubber duckies, but somebody's going to win a car, and it's just fun to watch someone win a car. I mean, hopefully you, but even if it's not you, there's something like, wow, like that's huge, all expense paid car. Yes, please. That's amazing.
And that's not the only prize. They're giving away jewelry.
Oh yeah. There's
jewelers for second place, and they've got other prizes if you don't end up in first. But it is a good time. And the Sertoma Club does such a great job supporting charities around the Ozarks. And this is one of their biggest, maybe their biggest fundraiser of the year. So support it. It's great.
All right, that's this weekend. Have fun. Thanks so much for joining us on this Thursday, and we hope to see you back here tomorrow morning.
Yep, we still got Friday to go, so hang in there. We're getting close tomorrow.
Bye.
It's time for Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather, sponsored by Scooters Coffee and Rescue Towing. Here's your host, meteorologist Abby Dyer.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your Thursday. I hope you had a nice Juneteenth holiday if you were off work yesterday. And if not, well, hopefully you work indoors because it was a scorcher again. And I have more of that hot and humid weather to come as we round out the work week. Temperatures this morning are starting off warm. We're at 70 degrees as of 5 a.m. and I have near 90 for the high temperature this afternoon. Another hot and sunny day. If you're going to be outdoors at all today, you got to find a way to cool down because the heat index value will be anywhere from 95 to 100 for the entire area through the course of the afternoon. Kind of this broken record forecast here for the next several days, but heat's actually intensifying in this forecast. I have numbers that will likely be climbing to the upper 90s. That happens by the weekend. It is just going to be this awful pattern where we're blocked under this big bubble of hot air. It's a ridge of high pressure that has set up and stationed itself across really the eastern half of the country. So yes, heat headlines are in the national headlines as well as our headlines here in the Ozarks. We do have this frontal boundary that's really draped across the entire northern tier of the country. And that's the boundary where some of the activity with thunderstorms will be later today. There's also, of course, all the Gulf moisture happening and severe weather possible in Southwest Texas today. There is going to be this opportunity for severe weather for southern South Dakota, portions of northern Iowa, and southern Minnesota today. We don't get any severe storms, and really, I think our rain chances today are very limited. But when you have hot and humid weather, you can't rule out those pop-up summertime thunderstorms any one day. However, I don't think it'll be severe weather, just some scattered activity in the forecast by the time we get to this afternoon. I mentioned that temperatures for the weekend could be in the upper 90s. Yeah, we're talking like 97 degrees on Saturday. So easily the heat index value will be well into the triple digits. We're starting to get into this dangerous territory here when we talk about the prolonged and intense heat and humidity that's going to linger through the weekend forecast. So really, if you have outdoor events planned, try and make them for the morning hours, the late evening hours. That's going to be the time of day where the temperatures and the UV index are not as bad. UV index has just been off the charts the last couple of days, burn time in less than 10 minutes. And today is no exception. It's going to be another scorcher. So, of course, use sunscreen as high as you can and hat. Find the shade. You might be able to catch a slight breeze today, but it's not going to be too windy out there this afternoon. I do have an opportunity for some scattered showers and thunderstorms. This is about a 30% chance for rain, and it enters the forecast late in the weekend. I'm talking Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week. Probably not enough to cool us off, though. I think the rain showers are so widely scattered that we won't have a whole lot in the way of, big coverage that's going to blanket the Ozarks, which means our temperatures aren't held down much at all. My forecast today is for 90 degrees, mostly sunny through the course of the afternoon. Once again, tonight, we only fall to about 70. Sets us up for another hot one tomorrow. I think we're in the mid 90s in spots on Friday. We're in the upper 90s by Saturday. Sunday looks just as hot, but I think we at least have a better chance for some storms on Sunday. So hopefully you get in on some of that rain-cooled air that will be out there at times through the weekend. Hot and humid weather, it continues through the rest of June. Problem is, oftentimes in the summer, you hear meteorologists talk about these big high pressure systems, the ridge that I just referred to. Well, they're really, really difficult to break down with the current jet stream pattern. So they're prolonged. And this means that it's going to mean a whole lot of heat heading to the Ozarks, not just as we wrap up our 7-day forecast, but through the end of the month. I see this pattern really continuing, perhaps not starting to break down and back off with the rain chances until we get to the month of July. Also, rain chances, they're out there from time to time, but overall, this is going to be kind of a dry pattern. We're doing all right in terms of drought conditions in the Ozarks. But of course, this stretch of many dry days, the plants are needing a drink. Gardeners having to get out there and water maybe a couple times a day because of the heat. It's just so intense in the forecast. I mentioned that you'd be hearing about this big heat wave really in the national news headlines, and I know you already have in many spots. This heat wave is persistent over the Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Ohio River Valley, the Northeast into late week. Now, yes, it's hot here in the Ozarks, but we're not breaking records. They are breaking records up in the Northeast. So our friends in New England are suffering through some of the worst of this heat. And we have thunderstorms that return to the plains. That happens tonight into tomorrow morning for the places I mentioned that could see some severe weather. Thankfully, we're not talking severe weather in the Ozarks. Things do shape up pretty nicely for us in terms of not seeing the strong storm activity. We just need to take some breaks and find some AC over the next couple of days. All right, it's time for the Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather Brain Twister Trivia question for the day. Here's the question that I left you with yesterday. Which month of the year is National Ice Cream Month? The options were A, June, B, July, C, August, or D, September. It is B, July. I've already been celebrating, though. I think you can celebrate ice cream any month of the year, but officially, National Ice Cream Month is celebrated in the United States every July. President Ronald Reagan established the month in 1984 through Proclamation 5219. He also designated the third Sunday of July as National Ice Cream Day. So we'll be sure to celebrate that day. But hey, celebrate the entire month of July if you would like to. The celebrations were inspired by resolutions in the United States Senate and the House of Representatives. This was sponsored by Senator Walter D. Huddleston. And we thank you for drawing great attention to designating a month and a day for the celebration of ice cream. I think that's important, and we do, but now you know, B, July, the official month where we celebrate ice cream here in the good old US of A. There we go. All right, here's the question that I'll leave you with for tomorrow. It's your next chance to win $20 to Scooter's Coffee. What is the national animal of Scotland? Do you think it is A, a sheep, B, a horse, C, a lion, or D, a unicorn? The Scottish. Which animal do you think they celebrate as their national animal? No Googling, that takes all the fun out of it, but you can submit your guess. That's over at aroundtheozarks.com. While you're there, we've got a breakdown of the weather forecast. Just click on the weather tab. You can find that all day, every day over at the website. And thank you so much to our sponsors, Scooter's Coffee and Rescue Towing, for sponsoring Around the Ozarks Wake Up Weather. I'm meteorologist Abby Dyer. Thanks so much for listening. We will chat again tomorrow morning.